part of having a bulletproof starter mentality is to continue and continue and to do it regardless of the circumstances. Regardless. Okay, so here's one thing that happens when well, so far it hasn't happened yet while I was actually recording. But one thing that has happened is, one thing that's been happening here is that these train announcements are coming on in between, like I would say probably every 2, 3 minutes, there's train announcements. There's one train announcement that is, you can easily hear it. The other train announcement, there's only two train announcements. One you can easily hear, and one that sounds just like muffled, complete garbage. It's just woo, 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 woo. I think actually that's the Spanish translation of the original train announcement, but it just sounds like woo, 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 woo. So, yeah, that's interesting, but it's gonna come up again. As a matter of fact, I've been avoiding recording to an extent, just so I don't have the train announcement cover up what I'm saying. But I'm gonna practice starting and sticking with it, even if the train announcement comes. Yeah. So if I could think about times in my life where I just started and it made a huge difference for me, was the first time I actually played in the subway. I remember being out there in the subway, and I only was there because uh, why was I in the subway? I was in the subway because I um, I was originally hired by a singer to back her up in the subway, but um, yeah, I found her on Craigslist actually. She liked my videos, so she said, "Okay, you can come and back me up in the subway." And I did that with her one time, right? And I made $25. I was very proud of myself, very proud of myself. But she's like, "Okay, we should do this again. Come back tomorrow." So I spent so so the next day I spent like $20 on food, and I had $5 left, which was thankfully all I needed to go back to uh, to New York City to go play with her again because I was living in Jersey. So I used my last $5 to get on the bus, and then while I was on the bus, she called my cell phone, and she said, um, "Oh, I don't feel so good today. My stomach hurts. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't make it." I was like, "You can't make it. I just used my last $5 to get on the bus to play with you." And she's like, "Oh no, no, just go ahead and play by yourself. You should be fine. Just go ahead and play by yourself." I'm like, "By myself? All right, by myself. Sure, sure, I can do that. Yeah, sure, I'll play by myself." Knowing full well that I never did that before, at least not to that, not like that. I just haven't gone to the subway and just played by myself. Actually, I did it like, well, like many years ago. Before that, I think I had an idea to try it, and I just did it for like a minute, and I was just too scared to keep going. So, but anyway, I go to the subway, and I have my guitar on my back, and I'm like, I'm scared stiff. Like I'm afraid to pull my guitar out. I feel like everyone in the subway can see me, and they also know that I'm not playing right now, and maybe they're wondering why he's not playing, and that's not what like they weren't wondering that at all. They just trying to go home and get that chicken pot pie or whatever it is, or maybe turn on the evening news or something. So, but for some reason I don't know. I felt I felt very observed. So I didn't want to bring more attention to myself by actually playing something. So I'm like, man, I should really just go back home. But I was like, wait a second. If I go back home, wait. I was like, wait a second. I can't go back home because I don't have any money to get on the train or the bus to go back home. So, and not only that, I had no money for food either. I spent it on food that day. Like I was starting to get hungry. I was starting to get hungry. So it's almost as if my stomach started growing arms, and my stomach pulled my guitar off my back, and then pulled the guitar out of the bag, and just made me start playing. So yeah, so I started playing by myself, and I was singing by myself. At first, my heart was racing, but then I sang my first song, and then my second song, and then my third song, and then I got my first tip, and then my second tip, and then my third tip, and eventually I got $30. That's even more than last time. $30. I was like, I think I just found my new job. I think this is it. this is it for me. Like right here, this is gonna be my career. So I packed up my $30 and I came home and I told my mom and dad, guys, I went to the subway today and came back with $30. Obviously, I didn't have $30 anymore because the bus back was $5. So I had $25 left. And then my mom was like, "Oh, you did that?" I was like, "Yeah, I did that." And my dad was like, "You did that?" Well, yeah. He's like, "Don't ever do that again. Do not ever do that again." He's like, "If you need money, I'll give you money. Don't go to the subway and play like a homeless person." And I was like, what are you talking about, a homeless person? Homeless people don't play in the subway, they beg. They beg for money, they don't play anything. I'm actually playing something, which, it turns out that some homeless people do play, but by and large, most subway performers, most street performers have homes. Um, but anyway, I'm like, I'm not begging, and I'm also gonna keep playing. That's what I said. I'm like, how can I stop? Why would I just stop playing just because you don't want me to? Come on, man. So he didn't like that at all. He did not like that at all. Every time I talked about it, he was like, you got to stop doing that. But I just kept going. But eventually, I started coming back with like $50 in a day, $100 in a day, sometimes $150 in a day. And before you know it, I was all cashed up. I had stacks of cash. So, um, yeah. And with stacks of cash, guess what you can do? You can help around the house a little bit, get a few groceries, maybe pay a bill or two. My mom never owned a car. She has a driver's license. She refuses to drive a car. She prefers to take the bus. She knows all the bus routes, and she'll wait outside for an hour if that's what it takes to get the next bus. And she loved the fact that I was being paid in singles and coins because whenever she needed bus fare, she'd come and grab some of my dollars and coins and pay the bus fare. So it was something I could do. I was like, what? I think I was like 19. Yeah, I was like 19. So it was something. So all of a sudden, my parents got a little more comfortable with it. And eventually I became a subway performer. That was my job for 3 years, exclusively. No gigs, no nothing else, just playing in the subway. So that's my subway story. Thank you for listening. Hey, that is an, that is a time where I just started, meaning I just pushed past my reservations and just started. And I created a whole new life for myself, actually. I created a whole new life for myself. I'm talking about meeting people I would never meet. I got so much practice on the guitar and so much practice singing that I eventually started doing gigs where I would sing and play, which is something that no one would pay me for when I just started. But eventually, after playing the subway for a few years, I created a career for myself. Like, just imagine if I was just like, man, I'm not gonna play today. I would have never opened up that part of my life. I was in college at the time. Um, maybe I don't know. Well, actually, I think that was kind of cheating because I literally didn't have any money in my pocket. So,
Attention NJ
yeah,
Transit
here's the thing
customers.
again.
Due to the outgoing crew
Um,
out of work, your rail
Let me
service
see.
may be
I
affected.
actually
For
didn't have
service and
any money in my
details,
pocket at
please
all.
visit
So I guess in some
njtransit.com/rail.
ways
Again, this is a
I had no other
change that
choice.
costs
At least I thought I
approximately
had no other
35
choice.
cents.
But I'm sure that if I went around and asked someone to help me with bus fare back home, someone would do it, right? Even though in the city we're very used to people asking for that, and they don't actually need bus fare. They just need drug money or just survival money. But in this case, I actually would need bus fare for real, and I would probably get it. So, did I have a panhandle in my life? I think I did at one point. I think I did at one point. I did. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I distinctly remember just walking around asking people for for money. Yeah, that was. I just needed money for food and stuff. Like, look, did we have food at home? Yes, right. But I didn't want to just. I didn't want to just take resources from my parents and stuff like that. I didn't want to just do that. So um, there was a time. There was a time where I would just walk around and ask people for money on the street, probably just for a few days. It wasn't. It wasn't long. It wasn't long. There was no pride in that, at least not for me. I preferred to play, and that's how I earned my money. So, yeah. Thanks for listening.